I've had several encounters with the Bulgarian medical system, one of which was a hospitalization of about a week or so, which happened in 2016. I was living in Bulgaria since about 2 years, exactly, and I already spoke Bulgarian at a pretty decent level. I could arrange everything myself. In our case, what happened is I had stomach pains for a couple of days and I didn't know what it was. So I just went to a doctor and I said, listen, I have this and this. Uh, I don't know what I have, but it's taken quite long. What do you think? And he basically recommended me a medicine that I took, just pills of a very common medicine, which I'm not going to name. Something that basically you can give to children and it helps with stomach pains, cramps, whatever. And what I got was an allergic reaction, which started with these red patches on my skin, lots of itching, very burning sensation. It was actually so painful that I just wanted to scream. It was very, very bad. My eyes started to swell, and my throat started to swell as well. And that's when I thought, okay, I need to go to the hospital. Now in Bulgaria, if you can help it, you typically don't call an ambulance, but you take a taxi to the hospital. Like, unless you're in a real bad state, you just go to the hospital by taxi, which I could do because it's faster than calling an ambulance. It could take you very long to get an ambulance at all, which is a horrible thing, but it's another topic. What I did is I went there and I just walked to the reception desk. I said, I have this and this, can I be seen? And it went quite fast. The first line of responders there just saw me and well, that was it. I was at the Pirogov hospital for basically the first time. Pirogov is, I believe, a state-run facility which treats basically everything. And if anything bad happens to you in Sofia, probably the ambulance would take you to Pirogov. It is just the common hospital for anyone who doesn't go to a private hospital for whatever reason. I just knew that it was the biggest hospital, it's the most famous one, it obviously has all these specialists, so I just went there. And what happened is I was seen by this young nurse. She just administered, registered what happened to me. Then I was directed to a toxicologist who saw me next, and he decided that based on my condition, I was to be admitted in the hospital for at least a while because I needed to be treated. So what I got is these pajamas, which basically were the type of prison pajamas. It was a striped shirt, striped pants, which were an XL size, basically made for a man of 150 kilos. The pants I couldn't string together, so I couldn't wear them. Basically, what I had to do is just hold them with both of my hands, and that's the only way I could wear those pants. So what you do when you're administered or should I say taken into a Bulgarian hospital is you change into these pajamas and you wear them for as long as your stay is. So I was not really prepared for my stay, and naively so, because I thought maybe I'll just get some medicine, go back home, some antihistamines, whatever. But it was quite a serious allergic reaction, and it actually became worse once I was in my taxi on the way to the hospital. So far, I actually got a bit scared and emotional because I saw these people of all walks of life in this hospital. Some were in a very bad condition. It's a busy hospital. I'm not going to say it looks like a war zone, but it's a little bit rough, you know. You see all types of people coming along with all types of wounds. I saw some bleeding people coming past on trolleys and beds, and I felt very far from home. I was in Bulgaria for just 2 years, and I felt a bit as if I wanted to be with my mom and dad, you know, but I kept strong. I was assessed very well by the local staff there and taken to the toxicology department, which is a sort of separate building on the campus of the Birogov Hospital. So far, so good. So, in the toxicology department, there are several rooms, and each room has about 4 beds. So I'm taken into this room. It's a renovated room. It's all fairly neat, good bed. It was all decent. There were 2 other guys. One was administered because he had allergic reaction to something as well, and one was very, very drunk and he needed to be administered to be taken to the hospital to detox as well. So he was screaming at night. It was a bit annoying, but I was there. They were both friendly guys. We had a few laughs, and yeah, the first thing that happened is the nurses came and they gave me sort of a shot of probably strong antihistamines to calm down my nervous system and to start combating this allergic reaction, which was already deep in my body. So I was on the drip as well. How do they call it? Into my arm, they put a sort of tube, and I get fluid administration. All good, and my body started to calm down because I was given this medication, and it started to work, and I felt relaxed. I got a needle in my butt as well for whatever reason, but it worked. So I was happy. I was comfortable after being entered into this hospital. And this lasted a couple of days. Now, it started with the pajamas, which were not very comfortable. They were way too big. But then I started noticing in what a decrepit state the Bulgarian hospitals actually were. So as I said, the staff is very, very professional. They work hard, around the clock. They know what they're doing. They're real specialists. I have no comment about them whatsoever. I was quite happy and in good hands. But then when I needed to go to the toilet, it was a big bathroom. So there was a shower, but there were no towels for patients. What Bulgarians do is they bring everything in a sports bag if they go to hospital. Toilet paper, cutlery, towels, gym clothes, basically pajamas. They bring everything themselves because there's no facilities in the hospital. There were no towels, there was no soap to wash your hands, the bathroom could not be locked, so if you would take a shower, anyone from the other 10 rooms could just come and open the door and just enter without, you know, you being able to lock your door. One bathroom for the whole floor, so I didn't shower for the whole week I was there. I just washed myself at the tap a few times. You couldn't wash your hands. Hygiene was quite bad. There were no slippers. There was nothing. The food wasn't very good either. It was basically dry bread with some sausage on top or some jam on top, and the jam came from the fridge, or the butter came from the fridge. So I couldn't spread the butter, and what you're given is just a slice of bread in the morning, one slice plus one sort of small amount of jelly or butter on top. And as a nurse, do you have a knife or something so I can spread it? And she gave me a knife, and eventually during the afternoon we get soup, and I said, can I perhaps have a spoon so I can drink my soup, you know? But there was no spoon, and we had one spoon for the whole room. One guy was the lucky owner of the spoon. After 3-4 days, he was released from the hospital, and I was given his spoon. I remember washing it myself at the sink in our room. It had a separate sink. I remember washing the spoon, basically coming straight from his soups, and I started using the spoon. One spoon for the whole room. Another thing I remember is that there was no toilet paper in the toilet either, which may sound very, very strange, but many toilets in Bulgaria actually don't have toilet paper, in particular in this era of anything before 2018. It was still a little bit exotic, and many bathrooms everywhere nowadays still don't have toilet paper. If you go to some restaurants, some cafes, in maybe 20% of the cases you won't find paper or something. It still happens, especially if we're unlucky. In any case, there was no toilet paper. What I did is, at some point, I went out of the hospital, which wasn't allowed, but hey, there was no facilities whatsoever, so I just walked out in those pajamas, those striped pajamas, and I sort of ran across the street into the Tricha Tripet, the store, and I literally remember buying a towel, which they have, toilet paper or wet wipes, whatever. I remember buying soap because there was no soap. So there were just no hygienic standards, and I wanted to wash my face, I wanted to wash my hands. And people were sick, violently sick, and it's toxicology, and in the toxicology department you need at least a standard of hygiene, which there wasn't. So that was the bad part. Then what I actually appreciated was the staff. They kept me for a whole week and they made sure that the reaction was out of my body, and then they fired me from the hospital, So eventually I said my goodbyes. I thanked them because they were great nurses. And I went home. That was my encounter with a Bulgarian hospital. So that was in 2016. I would presume that by today's standards it would be slightly better. Even the outer facade of the hospital has been renovated. Obviously, there's a little bit more funds distributed, but it was quite a shock to find out that they didn't have any facilities whatsoever. And I wasn't actually, it didn't affect me too negatively. I sort of am used to this ramshackle system. Like, Bulgarian state functions in a very bare bones manner. Like, you have your roads, you have your trains, but they are, as I said, ramshackle. It's the bare basics that you have. But in a way, it still sort of functions because I was seen quite fast. I was taken in very fast. So I would still prefer it over the NHS. This is not a rant about the Bulgarian hospitals either, because the times that I did need care here, what I can say about Bulgaria is I was always seen very fast. I went to Pirogov one other time when I dropped a sort of jug of boiling water over my foot and I was on slippers. It was a very dumb thing that happened, but I immediately started getting a swollen foot, and first degree burns probably started to develop into a huge blister. And what I did is I was actually under the shower tap and my whole leg I thought was burnt from the initial reaction. So I was in the shower putting lukewarm water on my leg, and I called the ambulance in that case because I thought my whole leg was burnt, which eventually turned out a little less frightening. It was just the upper side of my foot mostly. And I called the ambulance and they said, yeah, we don't come for that. Where that's right or not, I don't know. But again, I jumped in the taxi with this first degree burn, this blister developing on my foot. And I had a sort of bag of frozen peas from the fridge for the freezer that I took into the taxi, and I again drove to the hospital by cab. And I remember I couldn't walk because, well, I couldn't wear a slipper, I couldn't wear a shoe because of this blister. And I remember walking barefoot to, again, the hospital reception saying what happened. I was seen quite fast. They popped a blister, they wrapped it in bandage. They had these young doctors. Typically in Bulgaria, have a lot of young doctors in Sofia who just graduated. They're very, very professional. They know what they're doing. I was seen within the hour and on my way home. I remember the taxi driver coming with me to the pharmacy, and he said, no, you need this painkiller. This one is stronger than what the doctor prescribed you. Take this one. And he actually started arguing with the pharmacist on my behalf to get a stronger painkiller that he once had when he fell off his bicycle. And that painkiller was needed a separate prescription, which I didn't have. But the taxi driver made such a fuss with this pharmacist that he eventually got it. And I didn't take the painkiller eventually because I just took what the doctor prescribed. I wasn't in horrible pain, but anyway. I just thought that was an interesting side note. And the people were always friendly, always. So I haven't had a bad instance of Bulgarian healthcare per se. I do have one story actually. It's about a friend that I have, a Dutch friend who lives here. Suddenly he started to get a blood clot in his leg. It's about 5 years ago. Ambulance didn't come. And what happens is they cut off his whole leg, amputated his whole leg under the knee. Under the knee it was just all removed, amputated, as they say. He now has a plastic foot, which was paid for by himself and by donations of colleagues because it was not insured. So he went to the Netherlands for a second opinion, and they said, well, the Netherlands doctor said, yeah, but here we would have easily managed to save your whole leg, easily. And in particular, anywhere, over 10 years ago, there was a huge shortage of ambulances in the city. There was even a movie called Sofia, The Last Ambulance of Sofia, about this big issue. If you have anything, just go yourself if you can, and then it will work quite fast, but it's underfunded. There's no money because most of the money is stolen, and that heavily affects all of the hospital staff, which then don't have any facilities to work with. Anyway, that's basically my summary of Bulgarian healthcare. Take care.